It's the all-new Sports Visions with Dale Williams and DJ Jones, your 1980 national champions. 1980 and 81 SEC champions, two damn good dogs.
Welcome to the all-new Sports Visions. I'm DJ Jones alongside my good friend and traveling partner Dale Williams. How are you?
What's up, DJ?
How you doing, man? I'm doing really special because obviously, you know, we're week 5 into the high school football season, week 4 into the college football season. But guess what? We are week 1 into Columbus Youth football season.
Columbus Youth football, one of the most underrated Saturdays of the year in the Columbus area, man.
I tell you what, we'll have that opportunity to talk a little bit about opening day, the festivities down at A.J. McClung Memorial Stadium, as well as the Atlanta Falcons report and a roundup of the SEC schools.
That's right, DJ. A lot of football still to be played, DJ, but really, it's going to go by real quick.
All right, all that and more coming up next on Sports Vision.
If you're even thinking about a new car, you've got to come to Headquarter Nissan.
Because right now, you can get the lowest payments of the year.
New Sentras from just $129 a month.
Altimas from just $159 a month.
And Rogues from just $169 a month. And all backed by our value plan featuring a lifetime warranty with an unlimited amount of time and miles and more. Lease for less. Columbus is a Nissan town.
Hello, everybody. I'm DJ Jones. You might know me from my athletic career at Carver High School, University of Georgia, or my sports broadcasting career. I know a lot of people, but when it comes to an attorney I trust, I call Forrest B. Johnson.
I'm Forrest Johnson of Forrest B. Johnson and Associates. And I want to let you know how proud we are to be a part of your community, a part of the Columbus community and the Phoenix, Alabama community. Consider us first. When you or any member of your family has been involved in an automobile accident, remember, car wreck, get a check.
Call now, 706-223-5380.
Call now.
Welcome back to Sports Visions, Dale. As I mentioned in the opening, again, week 5 of high school football, week 4 of college football. But now the kids, after waiting all these weeks, man, they finally get a chance to start playing. Beautiful festivities down at A.J. McClung Memorial Stadium last week as opening day for Columbus Youth football got underway.
Really, DJ, that Columbus Youth football piece is big. From 4 years old to 12-year-olds, kids are playing football, and that's one of the good things about this area, right? This is a football community. You get it in when you're young, and really, for its learning, that probably is one of the best places to get your tutelage from.
Great job by the folks at Columbus Youth Football, man. I tell you what, great support, great participation. Had about 5,000 people down at Memorial Stadium, again, on the grounds. And the kids, of course, the kids were both the cheerleaders and the players were just as happy. You can tell that they've been waiting because they had to watch the high school games. They had to watch the college games on TV. And now they finally get an opportunity to string up their cleats and snap their helmets on their chin straps on.
Like I said, DJ, it's one of the most underrated Saturdays in town, but one of the big things about it, the kids get to start early. They're anxious to play, but really to get them involved at this early age in football is probably why we have a great football community that we do have. Players are getting better and better, even because they're starting younger. But one of the good things about it, DJ, I think really promoting football again and making sure everything is safe. But I think the people at Columbus Youth Football do a great job, and we got to get involved and help them a little bit more.
Absolutely, and I know that Columbus Youth Football is basically what's here now. Pop Warner was what you and I both played out at Edgewood, and you know what? That was the foundation to our careers, and we had an opportunity to play high school football as well as college, and myself into the NFL. But again, that's where it started. Those were our roots, and we know how much it meant. Like we said, we always say on the radio and on television, we know what it's like to hear your name called on the radio. You see your pictures on video on television, as well as read your name in the paper.
Well, you know, DJ, is very impactful for a young person. You know, even from the cheerleader standpoint, to these guys, little guys playing, a 4-year-old playing, remembering when he scored his first touchdown. Really, he's going to continue to grow and score more touchdowns when he gets bigger. But really, this speaks volumes for this community. This is a football community, and one of the big things about it, DJ, is as quick as they can get involved, the better they can stay out of trouble.
Now, you talk about the football, Columbus Youth football being underrated, but the cheerleading for the young ladies, again, that's a part of a team, and they get to learn some wonderful things together about, you know, working, you know, a routine, doing the routine. Don't have to be at practice on time. I mean, these youngsters, there's a lot of life lessons, as we always talk about, in both the cheerleading as well as the football players. And again, I want to salute all the cheerleading coaches and the football coaches, because these are volunteers. These people don't get a dime. Many of them come on after work, and my hat's off to them.
My hat's off to them, dude. I had my years with My son growing up in Columbus Youth football and us playing Pop Warner football, I knew what route he was going to take. But when, like you said, DJ, and we always say, the discipline piece, the things that you get from playing athletics and playing football is big. It's something that a parent can't really teach, but it also helps that kid to get along with one another, you know, listen to discipline, you know, just being the great player and person that you want them to be. And, you know, if they can't play and they don't like it, don't make them play. But really, you're planting a seed in these young people that they really want to play some football.
And you know what, before we go, I want to definitely make mention of this, is that, you know, with all the concussion information and, of course, all the rules being implemented into professional football as well as college, you know, the turnout still was, I would have thought that, you know, maybe they would have a little fall off, but you know what, it looks like they've had an increase.
It's never fall off, DJ. You know, you got grandmama there, you got granddaddy there, the mama, the daddy, the aunties, the uncles, the cousins. It's a family affair.
Tell you what we're going to do. We'll take a short break. This is Sports Visions.
Give your gathering something to gather around. Try catering at Chick-fil-A.
Good morning, everyone. This is Devin here at Headquarters Nissan with the Sports Vision Network. Listen, I want to tell you guys about a special event we got going on for the rest of this month. We have up to $6,000 off on Nissan Altimas. You heard me right, up to $6,000 off on Nissan Altimas. And if you want to roll, come on out to Headquarters Nissan. We're going to give you up to $5,000 off at Headquarters Nissan on Nissan Rogues. And guess what? We are rolling out the Nissan Kick, the new SUV, great gas saver. Guess what? Come out and test drive any Nissan Kick on a Saturday. And guess what? We're gonna have a special guest waiting here for you at Headquarters Nissan. So listen, come on down to Headquarters Nissan, the #1 retail store in the state of Georgia, and get your deal. You get a deal, you get a deal, everybody get a deal.
Broke my personal record.
Aflac?
No, good break. Good break.
I'm so sorry we can't make your barbecue. I'm just sick about it.
Aflac?
Different kind of sick. If I can't work after surgery, how am I gonna pay my rent? All these bills.
Aflac!
Oh, Aflac.
And they pay you cash in just one day.
See how Aflac helps cover everyday expenses at aflac.com.
And welcome back to Sports Visions. Joining us right now is a good friend and contributor to Sports Visions. I tell you, man, we appreciate you so much. And again, we got a big announcement to make here, and I'm gonna let Jordan do his thing. Jordan Hill from formerly the Ledger Inquirer. Jordan, let the folks know what's going on.
Yeah, I'm excited to announce that August 27th, I'll be starting with the Opelika Auburn News, doing their prep sports. About 18 different high schools around there, and few of the local ones like Central Phoenix City, some of the schools out there around the state line. But going to be doing that, going to be helping with our Auburn Tigers coverage, and man, I'm chomping at the bit. I can't wait to get going.
Well, congratulations to you, man. You've been here nearly 2 years with the Ledger, and of course, you've done some extraordinary work, in my opinion, and of course, we appreciate what you've been able to contribute to Sports Visions. You've even been one of the presenters at our awards luncheon, but man, you're not going too far away. You're actually going to an area where we need your help.
Absolutely,
and
absolutely.
The good Lord works in mysterious ways, and I know that that's football country over there in the highest sense of the word, especially on the high school level.
Oh, absolutely, and I think, you know, of all the things that's exciting to me, the fact that there's 3 schools, Central, Smith Station, Glenwood, that I've already gotten to kind of know, and you get a little bit of the taste for me of Alabama high school football, but getting to cover teams like Auburn, Opelika, you know, Lynette, it's just really exciting. I've already, I had to turn my phone off. I mean, it's just going off with everybody congratulating me, and man, I'm just so excited to get over there.
Now, the Opelika Auburn News, for the folks out there that might not necessarily be familiar with it, why don't you give them a little explanation of who they are?
Yeah, well, I think they're a really big presence around the area. I think it's what I would consider the go-to for a lot of these high schools for the sports coverage. You know, they've put out a ton of great writers over the years that have, you know, done well there and gone on and done some great things, you know, afterwards. And it's just a really great place. You can already tell the community within the newsroom and how much they care about the places in Auburn and Opelika, the places even, you know, outside of those areas. It's just, you can just really tell that it's a really good community paper, and I'm excited to join them and get to work.
You know, you mentioned that you were already covering several teams here, and you're going to have those same teams, Smith Station and Central and Glenwood. And I tell you, man, that's a great nucleus of teams, but there's some other extraordinary teams in that area that you'll be covering.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, Lynette, you look at what they've been able to do winning state championships. I'm just really excited to get rolling. It's going to be fun to learn a lot on the fly, which, hey, you know, you don't have time to sit around and you know, got to really get going. But I'm excited for a reason to be back in a press box on a Friday night.
You're a Georgia Bulldog, and you're in Auburn territory, man. I tell you what, it's always either on the field, off the field, that Auburn-Georgia thing, it's always something in the mix between Auburn and Georgia.
For sure, and it's been funny, the people that have reached out being like, well, you remember you went to Georgia. I know where I got my degree, but I'm really excited to get over there and get to know the Auburn family and the Auburn community.
Well, I tell you what, right off the bat, Auburn's going to open up in the Chick-fil-A Kickoff Classic, and they're going up against Washington. I think they're number 4 in the country. Auburn's, I believe, number 10. But Gus Malzahn and what he's been able to do in the 9 years or so that he's been there, man, I know you have to be proud of having an opportunity to go in and get behind the scenes.
Oh, for sure. And I got a little bit of taste while I was with the Ledger to cover some of Gus and some of Auburn games. And I think it's going to be a really interesting season. They come, like you said, right off the bat playing in the Chick-fil-A Bowl. Last 2 trips to Atlanta for Auburn haven't been ones to write home about, with the SEC championship game and then the Peach Bowl against UCF. But, you know, I think there's a lot of talent there with Jared Stidham at quarterback coming back. And I think I couldn't pick a better season to kind of jump on board and see what's going on with Auburn.
I know Opelika is fairly close, but do you have your living arrangements? Are you going to have to move to that area, or you get to stay here?
Yeah, I'm actually headed to Auburn. I was able to find a place, and I'm just been this whole week, the last few weeks have been getting moving boxes, finding people to help move. You find out who your friends are this time of year, but yeah, going to be headed to Auburn and excited to get settled in.
All right, in the big picture, and I think I've asked you this, way back. I mean, at the end of the day, when you can write down what you want to do in your career, what do you write on the contract? What do you fill in that empty line?
Covering one of these teams like Auburn, being a beat writer for a Division I school like that, gotten a taste of doing that. Some with the Ledger. Had a chance when I was still at Georgia to cover some Georgia games. So that's the goal, and that's a big thing that we talked about when I was interviewing for this job, getting to that point, and real excited about the future there, and I think that feels like the sky's the limit. Going to kind of use a little bit of coach speak there, but I'm excited to get going.
Well, folks, I mentioned that Jordan was a heck of a contributor to Sports Visions, and of course next month will be Sports Visions, our magazine football edition, and he has an outstanding section in there, of course, with the Dandy Dozen and some of the top players in the area. Why don't you go ahead and give them a little preview of what's to come?
For sure, and it's something that, when I was at the Ledger that we did every year, and it's a Dandy Dozen looking at the 12 best players around the area, most of them in Columbus, but also Harris County, over the line, Central, no surprise, had 4 guys of the 12. Just a good look at the top talent around the Chattahoochee Valley, and it was a fun little photo shoot we were able to have with a bunch of them and have a chance to talk to them, what they see on this next season, and just sort of what they've got going on this fall.
Well, Jordan, once again, we appreciate congratulations, first
Thank
of all,
you. I appreciate
on, of course, the new assignment, and we look forward to working with you. And again, folks, coming up next month, that's coming out in September, and I know that's about a week away now. We'll have the Sports Visions football edition featuring the writings and, of course, the great work of Jordan Hill. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at our Chick-fil-A Picks of the Week.
Oh. Okay. Ah! Oh. Hey, I'm trying to get crunk.
This week's HBCU football schedule looks like this. The granddaddy of them all, the 83rd Tuskegee Morehouse Classic, Saturday at 2 p.m. in Columbus, Georgia at the A.J. McClung Memorial Stadium. Morgan State will play South Carolina State for homecoming in Baltimore, Maryland at Hughes Stadium at 1 p.m. Eastern. Alcorn State will host Alabama State for homecoming in Lorman, Mississippi at 2 p.m. Central at Spinks Cason Stadium. The Florida A&M Rattlers will host Norfolk State for homecoming in Tallahassee, Florida at 4 p.m. Bethune-Cookman will battle Mississippi Valley State for homecoming in Daytona Beach. Don't forget to download our free Sports Visions app from your smartphone's app store and follow us on Instagram at Sports Visions TV and on Facebook at Sports Visions TV Show. I'm Amber Williams for the Sports Visions Radio Network.
Broke my personal record.
Aflac?
No. Good break. Good break. I'm so sorry we can't make your barbecue. I'm just sick about it.
Aflac?
Different kind of sick. If I can't work after surgery, how am I gonna pay my rent? All these bills.
Aflac!
Oh, Aflac.
And they pay you cash in just one day.
See how Aflac helps cover everyday expenses at Aflac.com.
Give your gathering something to gather around. Try catering at Chick-fil-A.
And welcome back to Sports Visions, and it's now time for our Where Are They Now segment. And, of course, we started this segment about 3-4 weeks ago. And, of course, going back into the Chattahoochee Valley, bringing back some of the great names and some of the great people who have made an impact here. And, of course, we are proud to have with us today my coach, my mentor, and he was the best man in my wedding years ago, Coach Wallace Davis. How you doing, man?
It's always good to be here with you and on your show, Sports Vision. It's just a pleasure.
Hey, man, just proud to have you. It's been a while since we've had an opportunity just to sit down on camera, although we get together occasionally and have lunch. But just glad to have you here to talk about you and some of the great things, obviously, that you have done. A lot of folks out there want to know, what you got going on now. But we'll walk them through that. But first and foremost, Coach, let's just start in the beginning. You were a star football player at Spencer High School, at Lincoln University in the early 60s, and you even had an opportunity to play professional football. Go ahead and expound on your early beginnings.
Well, my early beginning of sports started at Carver Junior High School. That was the first year they started football at a junior high school. The coach that I had was B.T. Foltz, and he was a great leader, a great teacher, and a great person that you can gain inspiration from. He started football at Carver. I happened to be in that group when he first started football at Carver Junior High School. And from that point on, my third year, which was my ninth grade year, I was made the captain of the football team. And as strange as it seemed, the position he put me in was a position I really thought that I should have been in another position. He made a tackle out of me when I thought I should have been a running back. But nevertheless, if I was good enough to be a captain and playing tackle, that was enough to let me know that this man probably had more vision than I had. I went on to high school after my ninth grade year and started football at Spencer, where I started as a sophomore, my first year on the team.
What year was that, Coach?
That was 1959, school year 1959-60. I was a starter at a defensive lineman spot. And then from that point on, I started at offensive guard. My junior year and my senior year, I made all GIA state. At that time, it was a black GIA and the GHSA was white. So by the schools not being integrated at that time, I ended up being an all-state player for the Georgia Intercollegiate Athletic Association. And that they had an all-star game at the time in Atlanta. And it was just something to let you know during that period of time that sports for blacks was just as strong as the sports for whites.
We're talking about in the 60s now, Coach. And after high school and all the great things that you did in high school, you went on to become a star and recently named Hall of Famer at Lincoln University.
Well, that caught me by surprise. I went to Lincoln thinking that I was going to be that running back. one of the fastest players on the team. But the coach told me, he said, young man, I know you want to play running back. He said, but I can't find a player that could play that position any better than you, so you just going to have to stay there. And fortunate enough, I was able to make all Midwest Conference, a conference with Tennessee State, Kentucky State, Central State, and Lincoln University. We all were in what you call the Midwest Athletic Conference. During that period of time, our defense led the nation in rushing defense. We were by Pittsburgh Courier at the time. You still had this situation where schools weren't integrated, although we played a real strong integrated conference. We played Tennessee State, we played Florida A&M, we played Southern Illinois University, we played Arkansas A&M, and we played Central State, Kentucky State, Langston, and that conference for 4 years was one of the best conferences in the United States. And I don't want to leave Grambling out because Grambling was in that group also.
But, Coach, you know, you talked about being a very, very fast guy. But after your career, your illustrious career at Lincoln, you had an opportunity to sign a pro contract and go to training camp with the Minnesota Vikings. And, of course, being the athlete you were, was timed at one of the fastest on the team in the 60-yard dash.
Well, what the Vikings had, they had a system where when you come in, they would run 50-yard dash in full pads. And to my surprise, I ended up being that player that had the fastest time in the 50-yard dash at that time at Minnesota. This was 1966, and the time was 5.9 in full pads. And that was enough to get me a solid sign with the Vikings. Would have made it, got put in a position to run kickoffs and punts back, was one of the best. But as they say, when you're a pro, you can't make mistakes. So as a result, I made one. We were playing the Detroit Lions in New Orleans, and lo and behold, the ball was kicked in the lights, and I dropped the punt. And then from that point on, as you know, it was history. Then I had an opportunity to go to the Atlanta Falcons in 1966 at the end. The beginning of 67, I had one of the fastest time at the Atlanta Falcons training camp, which was a 4.6 at that time on grass.
Wonderful, Coach. I'll tell you what we're going to do. We're going to take a short break. When we come back, we're going to talk about the second part of your life, transitioning into, of course, the educational field and coaching, because you did a tremendous job in that as well. We'll be right back after this. Welcome back to Sports Visions. We're continuing with Coach Davis, our Where They Now feature of the week. And, Coach, we got everybody through, of course, your early years in high school and college and into the pros. And, again, the transition that's so hard to make when you get invited to professional camp. You had a break, and a special person came into your life and really is responsible for you having the great career you had as a coach and as an educator.
Well, and I think this is well deserving to be talked about. I remember when I was training to get ready for the Atlanta Falcons, and this was back in 1967, Mr. Charleston noticed me running, who was the principal at that time at Carver High School. He noticed me training in the back of the school. So he came out of his office, walked around to the back where I was working out, and said, young man, if you don't make it with the Atlanta Falcons, you got a job. I want to offer you a job. I said, Mr. Charleston, I'm going to be frank with you. I don't want to teach. I don't want to play pro football. Well, training camp started, went to mini camp, did extremely well. Then when training camp started, we were in Black Mountain, Tennessee, and they had about 100 players trying to make it. And at that time, they had a quota to get to. It wasn't like, you know, if you're good, they're going to put you because you're good. You could be good, but they just had a quota. They were going to pick players that had been at other teams and been in the league. They were going to pick them, and I was a rookie coming in. And lo and behold, just about the middle of August, I got released from the Atlanta Falcons. When I got released, it was on Telewire. One day it said, Wallace Davis, outstanding player, stand a good chance of making the team. Next day, it came out, Wallace Davis had just been released. And Mr. Charleston heard this on the news. And when he heard it on the news, at that moment, he went to my brother's house where I was staying, but I hadn't come from the Falcon because I was just flying out and trying to get back home. He told my brother that, look, when your brother come home, that I have a job and I want to offer him a job. Well, when I got in about 12 o'clock at night. In leaving the Falcons, there was the defensive secondary coach told me that I was good enough to play in the league, but the situation wasn't geared for me at the Falcons, and he called Tom Fears at the New Orleans Saints and told him that I need to get a shot. His name was Johnny Simax. Well, I came back home that night thinking that I perhaps would leave early in the morning to fly into New Orleans, but before I could get up that morning, Mr. Charleston was at my door. He knocked on my door and said that, look, you remember when you were working out in the back of the school, I told you I'd give you a job? Well, I'm here to give you that job. 7 o'clock in the morning, I said, Mr. Charleston, I'm going to New Orleans at 12. I got a flight out of here. He said, you're going with me. So he said, get in my car. I got in his car, and then we went to the school board. We went into Mr. Shaw, who was the superintendent at the time, office. And he said, Mr. Shaw, this is the young man I want to hire. And in 1967 was the beginning of my coaching career at Carver High School. And thanks goodness to Mr. Charleston, who made me, I couldn't get out of it, take the job as a teacher and an assistant coach at Carver High School.
Well, Coach, I tell you again, I commend you because you not only have you coached pro football players, you have coaches that are coaching in the NFL, coaching on the Division I level, coaching high school. You have successful men and women, fathers and mothers that you have gone under your tutelage. And again, I just want to commend you for the great job that you've done in all the great years.
I appreciate you, D. And you're one of those players that stood out as a ninth grader, my first year as the head coach at Carver High School. You're one that stood out against all odds. We had probably the worst athletic program in this city. You could have gone to any high school and been an All-American. But because of the fact that you were dedicated to your area and your friend, you came to Carver High School, and when a news writer asked you a question once, and I'll never forget it, he said, how can you play on this losing team and with these losers? You said to that news writer that losing is an individual thing, and I'm a winner. And as I watch you, I saw you develop. I saw you be one of the first players from this city to go to the University of Georgia, be the first quarterback that played at Georgia, black. Then move from the University of Georgia up to the Green Bay Packers. When you got drafted by the Green Bay Packers, you came to me in the summer. And we worked out while I was at a boys club, and never will forget it, and how you worked to make that team was against the odds, and it came out to be a tremendous product. There were other players that came along that had disadvantages, but for some reason I got caught into a situation where players that had disadvantages would get the upper rail because they worked harder having disadvantages in situation to get where they need to go. Nate Odoms, never would have thought he would have played and got drafted in the second round, played a position that was unbelievable. Turned out to be a tremendous quarterback and turned out to be a tremendous all-pro defensive back. You take Brunson Buckner. People laughed at Buckner. Too big, sorry, called him all kinds of names. But I told the group one day, we were having a meeting, I said, this very guy you all are criticizing, he'll play pro football.
Be sure to check out our Facebook page, Sports Visions TV Show, or our website, www.sportsvisionsusa.com.